Welcome back! Today I'm going to talk to you about my wheelchairs. So here we have my old wheelchair and here we have my new wheelchair. Now I am an ambulatory wheelchair user, which means that sometimes I use my wheelchair but sometimes I don't, and I am able to walk. Before I get to talking about this wheelchair, I do just want to say that I had a wheelchair before this one that I used while I was in hospital. I actually got that wheelchair from the Red Cross charity and they lent it to me for I think a month or two, and it was open to donations, so they would lend it to you and you could pay them back however much you were able to say thank you. Obviously, as they're a charity, they do rely on donations, so the wheelchair that I had first was pretty basic, shall we say. We nicknamed it Billy because it was like Billy Elliot, because whenever it rolled it would make a noise like it was tap dancing, and in the car when it was folded up it would just constantly be tapping away, so we called it Billy. But that wheelchair taught me enough so that I could go out and purchase this wheelchair. This wheelchair is the G-lite Pro Active Sport, and it is the first wheelchair that my family purchased for me when I was about 15 years old. And I believe it cost around £350, which was a good price for us to pay at the time, as we didn't know how long I'd need the wheelchair for, if I'd need a permanent wheelchair, so this was a good first base for us. This wheelchair originally comes with armrests on it, but I found it easier to push myself without the armrests on it, so we just took them off. I used this wheelchair for 4 years before I upgraded properly to my new wheelchair. I do still, however, use this wheelchair sometimes, as I keep it at my mum's house, so if I'm having a bad day when I'm at my mum's house, I will use this wheelchair and she'll push me around. This was a really good first wheelchair for me, and I do recommend it to people because I was able to sit in it and be pushed as far as you like, but I couldn't push myself very far, so it did require someone to be pushing me the whole time. It's very comfy with the basic cushions it came with. So they're really quite thin, but they're actually not that bad, and I think it's because the bottom of the chair is made out of a mesh sort of material, so you do sort of sink into it and it is quite comfy. The wheelchair folds up so simply. You just pull up in the middle and that is it. And if you have a tall cart like my mum does, you can just fit it in like that, or you're also able to push on these black tabs at the back and the arms come down, which means that when you're folded up in a cart, it has that less height on it. Now when I got my first cart, it didn't actually fit, which was quite annoying, and I had to put the back seats down to put it in, which is part of the reason why I've upgraded. And the chair I've upgraded to is this one, which is the Quickie Argon 2. Before I get into the features of my new wheelchair, I just want to talk about how I actually got it. This wheelchair, whilst being new for me, is actually second hand. By buying a second hand wheelchair, I was able to save myself in excess of £1,200, which is an insane amount of money, because the starting price for this wheelchair brand new is £1,800. Now I quite simply don't have the money to pay for that, and I know that a lot of other ambulatory wheelchairs like me will struggle to get an NHS voucher. An NHS voucher basically means that the NHS can supply you with a wheelchair, or they can give you a specific amount of money for you to go out and purchase your own wheelchair. So they could give you, say, £1,000 and then you have to cover the rest if you don't feel like the wheelchair they offer you is right. So I decided to go out and buy a second-hand wheelchair, as I don't use it 100% of the time, so it doesn't matter to me if it's a little bit worn, and to be honest, I'd rather save the extra grand. Now a really good tip for if you're looking to buy a wheelchair second-hand is to go to a wheelchair showroom and actually sit in different types of wheelchairs, different sizes, to see what you like best. Because with a second-hand wheelchair, you're not always going to be able to go and try the wheelchair before you buy it. So before I chose the wheelchair and knew the sizing that I wanted, I went to a wheelchair showroom near me. It was like a 40-minute drive where I was able to sit in loads of different wheelchairs with different backrest heights, different seat widths, different seat length. And that was a really good experience for me because I came out of there knowing exactly what I wanted, and all I had to do was find it. I ended up buying this wheelchair on eBay off of a seller who's got really good ratings and seems to sell a lot of second-hand wheelchairs. So I ended up getting this wheelchair for between £400 and £500, which was amazing. When the wheelchair first came to us, obviously as it was second-hand, it did need some things doing, and I'm fortunate enough to have a dad who's super handy with DIY and stuff like that, so he was able to do it. And when I was talking to him this morning, he actually said to me that if you can fix a bike, you can fix a wheelchair. So even like if you've got mates who know how to fix bikes, then they are more than capable of coming over and helping you fix up your wheelchair if you were to buy a second-hand one. Some of the things that we changed on the wheelchair were we bought new wheels on the front, as these small wheels were quite worn down, so I ended up paying something like £40–50 for new wheels and new bearings to go on here, which I didn't mind paying as I got the wheelchair at such a good price. I believe we put new tyres on it as the tread was quite worn down, and obviously you want your wheelchair to get as much grip as possible, so I do believe we put new tyres on it. And then a feature that I have to have on a wheelchair are handles, because I'm not able to push myself very far as I do have problems with my upper limbs and they are quite weak, so my friends and family do have to push me in my wheelchair a lot of the time. But handily enough, my dad put these wheelchair handles on them which are able to fold down and up, so when I'm using them they can be out, and then if I don't want to use them and I want to push myself for a bit, I can put them down. On the back it does have a quickie pocket, which isn't huge, but I suppose you could fit the essentials in there if you really needed to. I know there are products available that you can buy for wheelchairs, but I just haven't invested in any yet and I haven't found the perfect one for me. It did come with anti-tip wheels on the back as well, which I've taken off because I enjoy popping a wheelie every now and again, I'm not going to lie to you. This wheelchair is super lightweight compared to my last one. I can pick it up, I can put it in the car. Wheelchairs are so important because they give you that independence that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And this wheelchair being such lightweight means that I'm able to push myself for longer, and I'm able, if I wanted to walk the dog around the block, and I wouldn't be anywhere near as tired as I would be if I was using my other wheelchair. Something else that I took into consideration when buying this wheelchair was the frame. Originally I was looking at folding wheelchairs which would fold up much like my old one, but I ended up going with a rigid wheelchair, so all the frame is attached and it doesn't fold up, but you're still able to fit it in the car because you just press the black button in the middle and you pop the wheel off and you can put it back on so easily. There's multiple videos on YouTube that also show you how to get one in the car, but I probably will end up doing a video one day when I get my new car where I show you how I get it in and out of that. The final thing I'll say about wheelchairs is that mine is not insured, but many people do get theirs insured, especially if they've bought it brand new and had it custom made for themselves. Then it is definitely worth insuring, but I haven't got around to doing that with this one yet, and I'm not sure if I will, just because we didn't pay that much for it and my dad is able to fix a lot of things on my wheelchair. That is all for today's video. I hope it has been helpful. Now I know my comments were turned off by YouTube on the last video I made, so if that is the case again, feel free to hop over to my Instagram at small_and_strong, which will be linked in the description, where you can comment on my last post and we can have some wheelchair chat. That is all for now, so if this video was helpful and you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like, subscribe if you want to join this journey, and I'll see you in my next video.